the 35 years that I've been in this industry, we've seen a host of varied pharmaceutical type tracking systems, but it all comes at a cost, whereas this is basically no cost. It's changing the artwork and off you go, and you've got a database back at the factory, which you've had in any case all the time, so there's no additional cost to it. And it might have been yesterday or the day before, when we were discussing this technology, we actually had a couple of printers in the room, and they were telling us what really needs to be done from a printing perspective to make sure that those things are always readable and that they're always reading the right information. It's quite interesting to hear the other side from a printing perspective on it. But the end result was, it is the solution. You just have to make sure that you have the right printer doing it for you. All right, so here we've got some really new stuff. This one over here has just come out. In fact, that's actually a prototype, but I have been told that it's now on the market. And what it is, Sensodyne is in the toothpaste market, but we know that there's some additional products besides the toothpaste. Right? We have a toothbrush, we have dental floss, these other items that we use for our teeth. It's all now in one gadget. That's what they're trying to push, that, one-stop shop type scenario. And if we're finding it in that market, we sort of found it in Voltaren a few slides back where they're helping you with the application. So what I'm referring to here is that there are additional, making life easier for the patient every time using their particular product. Now this one, I understand and admit that this is not a pharmaceutical product. However, the technology we may well see come into the pharma sector. Because what they've done here, they've made this opening system easier and not so much force required. And some of you know, there's sometimes you need quite a bit of force to pull it, but more important is, in many cases, it's trying to get your finger under that tab that is the problem. And sometimes I've seen people go and grab the back of a teaspoon. I've seen that, obviously a knife. You try and get underneath that tab and lift the tab a little bit to get your finger underneath it. So that is where the focus of this is. They've actually improved that technology, so this thing lifts up so much easier, and at the same time, they've improved this pulling system of getting the lid actually off. All right? Now, there are some products, I've seen them in my time, in pharmaceuticals where they've used tin cans for the packaging. It's just going to make it a lot easier for those folk. This is a very new one. This was launched earlier this year out of by Amcor in the US from memory, but it's certainly Amcor. And what they've got here in the packaging, they've got what I was discussing yesterday, and that is those nanotechnology. Remember I told you about silver particles and having antimicrobial principles. They've done the similar thing in this technology here. And so you have these antimicrobial systems in it. And so whatever product you put in there, it's fighting those the bad microbes that you don't want, which is great. And this they launched just before Interpack in May this year. All right, tamper-proof labeling. Looks like the K fell off here. Again, there's a lot of technology. I haven't seen much here, although I haven't really walked around how much there is on this particular area. I have seen one stand that's got some of this technology on different tabs, and again, the sky's the limit as to how one can manufacture these voids. So you simply, when you try and break the seal, stuff stays behind. There's a lot of technology into this. I don't know how many of you know that Tylenol was why we have all tamper-evident packaging. In 1982 in Chicago, Tylenol, prior to 1982, there was no tamper-evident packaging across the globe. All right, wasn't in existence. And a madman got into, he bought some, I don't know how many of these bottles he bought from a store in Chicago, and then opened the capsules up and he put cyanide into them, and then got the products back into the shelves, and the people started dying one by one. I think eventually there was 6 or 7 deaths from memory, might have been 8 before they got onto it, well, before Johnson & Johnson really got onto it. It's a Johnson & Johnson product, and they removed the entire Tylenol across the globe off the market. And they were the #1 analgesic in the world. So you can imagine what that would have cost them to remove everything off the shelf. They then went back and worked on a tamper-evident feature, but I'll change that to features. In the 2 years before they relaunched it, they then came back onto the market with a triple feature, a triple tamper-evident feature on their Tylenol, and they got their #1 spot back again. But what it did do, it changed the world in tamper-evident packaging forever. So today, we don't even know that, and we don't actually realize that tamper-evident is part of our being. Because if I said to you, your subconscious mind is working when you open a bottle of water, you're actually waiting, you don't even know it, but you're actually waiting for the closure to crack. That cracking noise tells you this bottle of water is okay. But you don't actually realize you're actually doing that until someone says, did you hear the crack? And you say, yeah, I heard the crack, it was there. And when you don't hear the crack, you know, hang on, I didn't hear the crack, what's happening here? So we become so programmed to tamper-evident packaging, and now today, everything is tamper-evident packed, especially in pharmaceuticals. So I thought I'd just, when I was explaining this, just remind everyone where it all originated from back in 1982. All right, these are really, really new. They were launched in May of this year. And great idea, because what they've got is they've created different caps, this particular company, and around the features of accessibility. So you can see the shape of this is not round, so they can grip it easier. This is a technology where the material on the closure sticks to the one, but not to the new one. So that's just showing you how product would stick to it if there's certain areas or cases where you don't want product to stick on the bottle or the closure. This one I really like, because this is a temperature. Remember yesterday we spoke about thermochromic inks. This is the same technology, using it in a closure form. Now you might say, well, what's the purpose of that? Well, it's brilliant, because that will tell you just by the color changing whether that product is not in the temperature range that it should be in. Take it one step further, and you can use it on babies' bottles, because when that temperature of the closure is right, then you know that the temperature of the milk that you're about to give your baby is at the suitable temperature. So a real breakthrough in particular areas where you need temperature telling you whether the product is correct or not. And I can see it being used in the supply chain as well. All right, we all know that these closures for bottles, but if I remind you, like a wine bottle, for example, these are metal. But now what they've done is they have the same technology, but in a polymer-based material, so in plastic. They're now bringing out that same closure that we've always had in aluminium, is now coming out in a plastic closure. And so there's no reason why this one cannot come across into the pharmaceutical sector. I can see that happening without a shadow of doubt. Obviously, these are not pharmaceutical, but there's no reason why it cannot transgress into a pharmaceutical. All right, I thought I'd just finish off with just showing you what the students are doing around the world at the various universities studying packaging science. because they really come up with some great ideas. They're not always, they don't always focus on the productivity side. Is it able to be manufactured? Their minds aren't there because they've never worked in a factory. Remember that? So don't, but we don't want to stifle their minds, because often their ideas, the senior guys take those ideas and then they transform them into a workable one, or that works in a manufacturing environment. So see it more from the idea aspect than the functionality part of it. But certainly they come up with some bizarre shapes. Whether they actually are able to manufacture in a high-speed production is another story, but be that as it may. But it does give you some idea of what is around there. A lot of these were, in the minds of the students, were destined for in the perfume market. That's predominantly where they focus. Every now and again we get some really clever ones on the pharmaceutical side. A couple of years ago we got a very interesting one from a student out of China, out of Chengdu, in his final year, and he came up with a technology where those that with arthritis can access it easy, but a child cannot, and it also only dispenses one tablet at a time, which helps those who can't remember if they've taken one tablet or two tablets. Again, you can see the shape are quite bizarre. There's a whole host of them. Again, I mean, I'm showing you 3 slides with wide variety of shapes, colors, and styles. Look at this one with a hole in it. Not quite sure what you pack in there, but be that as it may. Okay, I always like including this one because it's really groundbreaking stuff. It's simple, but it's so effective. If you take a photo, if you don't mind, with me with this one. What I want to show here is that here we've got a wool product, and this wool product is normally thrown away. It's not part of the main fleece of the sheep, and it's obviously washed, in fact, 6 times through particular approved systems. It's then covered in a polymer base, a polymer material, and it lines the cartons. And this is what they were using during COVID, the COVID vaccine era, because they can maintain the temperature below 5 degrees for 72 hours. And that's phenomenal. I am not seen, and I mean, I see all the new packs coming onto the market all the time through the World Star Award system, that the awards up there. So I see what's available, and there's nothing that's matched this one yet. I'm sure that someone will come around and copy it, sure. But you take, and it's 100% sustainable. So we can do away with all that polystyrene that decimates our countryside. All right, this is also a very new one, entirely paper board. I don't know why that slides back there as well. This one's interesting because every part comes away from each other, so you can separate it quite easily, that part, this part, and this part. And each part is 100% recyclable. So all that is one material. All that is one material, all this is one material. So it's easily separated and then put into the different bins for recycling. So this is what we need, and this one won a World Star in 2022. This is what we need to focus on, is when they're in the design phase, to think in the recycling aspect. Down the track, what's going to happen? And I think this is the last one. This is a student's idea, this one, and it dispenses one capsule at a time. And also it's nice and big, so they can grip their hands around it quite nice and easily, and then put that pressure on the top, and one capsule comes out. All right. I think it's a great idea, and this was from a student, I think from Turkey, if I remember correctly. Good. Thank you very much. If there are any questions, please let me know.
Thank you very much to Professor Pierre. So please give a big round of applause to him. Wonderful speech. All right, everyone. Any questions? Wow, so fun for this presentation, right? มีใครมีอะไรเพิ่มเติมไหมคะ Do you have any questions, sir? No. Oh, thank you so much for joining us for 2 days. 3 days? 2 days. Okay. Thank you. Okay, we have some question about our audience. Right. Okay. Please send the microphone.
Yeah, I just wanted to say congratulations and well done on the student involvement in your projects. And I was just wondering, you said there's a lot of ideas being thrown forward, but when something actually works and becomes commercially viable, do the students see the benefit from that?
You know, that's a very good question, and really pleased to answer it so that we can answer it in front of everyone here. And because it's a student program within the World Packaging Organization, you know, we're the controlling body around it. We make sure that that does happen, because that's the first thing, obviously, that is on the minds of, especially at the awards night. That happens once a year in May, and this year it was at Interpack that had it. And the big companies are onto the students immediately when they see they've won a top award and a great idea that fits into their line of manufacture. They're onto that student. And so when a student, we know the student is going to get an award, we warn them up front, you know, they're either a gold or a silver or bronze. They don't know which award, but all we tell them is, please do not talk to anyone until you get one of us with you. So, and our whole team knows, so that they're not on their own, and they're agreeing to, you know, something like, you know, someone offers them $5,000, I think, wow, that's a lot of money. Of course, meantime, especially that one that I mentioned on that Chinese student from Chengdu, regarding that particular idea, you know, that a pharmaceutical company has taken the idea over. I can tell you, I can't tell you the amount, but I can tell you he got a lot more than 10,000 out of it. And good luck and good for him. So to answer your question, very much so. We are very aware of it, and we know there are a lot of prying eyes around there on that evening. Yeah.
No, that's good, because that can be a great motivator for people to exercise their creativity, and if they're sharing in the upside as it becomes commercially rolled out, then it's the ultimate motivation for more innovation.
What I can say is, just on that particular student, the one from Chengdu, and why I mentioned Chengdu is it's because the university is Sichuan University in Chengdu, in the province of Sichuan, and I was actually talking to one of the professors of that student. Now, this student won the gold in 2019, and I happened to ask him, you know, does he ever hear from that student anymore, reminding him that this guy, you know, out of the blue came up with this idea and he won the top award. And he said that, yeah, the guy, in fact, is doing exceptionally well, and he's actually employed by that pharmaceutical company that took that idea from him. So, yeah, he's happy, and he's got his money out of it, plus he works for them. So in that particular case, it's a win-win for all the parties.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Okay, any more question? All right, thank you so much. Okay, thank you to our president of the WPO for giving us many useful information about the packaging, especially for the new update of the pharmaceutical update today about the packaging. All right, ladies and gentlemen, if you want to know more any question, so you can directly like a message via our Facebook page, CPHI, such as Asia. All right, thank you very much for coming here and joining us for this special event with our event CPHI, such as Asia, and we hope that we will see you soon for the next year in 2024. Thank you so much for all the speakers for 3 days since on 12th of July until today. Thank you so much, and thank everyone for joining us to listen to the our famous speaker today. All right, thank you everyone. And all right, before we are go out, so I would like to remind you that CPHI is an established pharmaceutical events and media brand with over 30 years experience of bringing together pharma buyers and sellers from across the global supply chain. All right, ladies and gentlemen, everyone, thank you so much. And today our seminars for the last day of the event at innovation stage for the third day is finished already. The official seminar is already done. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for the distinguished speakers. Thank you to the president of the WPO, and thank you for all speakers that we come before that everyone came to join us to share about the information for pharmaceutical industries. Thank you everyone, you all. All right, see you for the next year. Thank you. ขอบคุณค่ะ
Ocean Elements. Ocean Elements. Ocean